This episode of All About Mythos originally aired on KWDC Delta College Radio and has been edited for YouTube. All research was done by Nico. Any potential misinformation is unintentional and caused by human error in the research process. Thank you for listening. My name is Nico, and joining me in the studio today we have Dani Romo and Trena Dinwiddie. Say hi.
Morning.
Hello.
All right, and our show topic today is Greek mythology and the story of Hades and Persephone. So sit back and enjoy our show. Hello to all listeners, welcome to All About Mythos, the radio show about mythology from all around the world. Today we'll be delving into Greek mythology with a well-known godly couple that had multiple different interpretations throughout the centuries, Hades and Persephone. So, how well do you two know the myth?
Stating it right now. All I know about this is I read Lore Olympus, the first 30 chapters. Don't hate me, okay? The art style was good for the first 30.
I will be honest, I knew the actual myth, but because I have read Lore Olympus for 5 years, it's mixed up.
I've never read Lore Olympus. All I know about it is that it is incredibly inaccurate.
Yeah, it is very inaccurate. Yeah. But it is a nice love story.
I'm in it for the drama.
Fair
you
enough.
dropped it.
Well, I was in it for the drama. I was just bored. That's just. Sometimes you just need some Hades Persephone bad webcomic that's free.
Fair enough. All right. So the only actual source of information on the Greek myth comes from the Homeric hymn to Demeter, which is Demeter is Persephone's mother. And the actual subject of Hades and Persephone's marriage is usually called either the abduction of Persephone or the rape of Persephone.
Ouch!
But rape in this context is used to mean seized or carried off, not actual rape.
I think that's worse.
It's still
really bad. It's really bad. Both of them are equally bad.
Yeah, still bad. So basically, Persephone's mom and dad are Zeus and Demeter, and Hades was all sad in the underworld, so he wanted Zeus to give him a wife. So Zeus was like, hey, take my daughter's hand in marriage. So Hades went into the field that Persephone was hanging out in and just kidnapped her. And it's very often emphasized that it was against her will, because of course it was.
Let's talk about that, okay? Because why are we having reimaginings of Hades and Persephone that are just never true to the real story, but then go off and are horrible in their own way? Why can't we make a good Hades Persephone portrayal of this story?
Yeah, there's such an interesting way to twist it, but no one ever does it.
Yeah. I won't lie to you. I know that it's been done a million times, but I can never find someone who says that there's a good adaptation of it.
Yeah, it gets a little,
Yeah. I think the story is just cursed to be bad.
Yeah, I have heard that Hades Town, the musical, a lot of Hellenists and people that still worship the Greek gods actually like that version of Persephone. And I like that version of Persephone too. She's really cool. So basically, after Persephone was abducted, her mother, Demeter, ended up searching the mortal world for 9 days without eating or drinking or bathing or anything. And she was looking for Persephone that whole time until the goddess Hecate came to her and told her that she heard Persephone scream. So they went to Helios, who also heard her scream and saw it and everything. And he ended up telling her, hey, Hades kidnapped her. So after that, Demeter ended up refusing to go to Olympus, and she ended up disguising herself as a mortal woman. And she came across this family, and the story with this family, it feels unrelated to the myth, but it's always included. So basically, she finds this family, and she ends up taking care of their child. Their child's name is Demophoon, and she ends up really liking this kid, and she decides to make him immortal. And apparently the way to make someone immortal is to put them in a fire pit and just cover them in flames.
Isn't that the opposite? Aren't you killing him? Wait, did he die?
No. See, the thing is,
good for him.
she did this for multiple days, and then one day, the kid Demophoon's mom saw her do this and was like, hey, don't kill my child. And then Demeter got mad at her for...
No.
Because she was like, hey, I was turning your kid immortal, which you would have not been able to know. How dare you? Build me a temple.
Demeter's mad that her daughter is kidnapped, and then she straight up just like yoinks the kid, like, "Hey, I'm gonna make your kid immortal for my benefit.
Yeah,
Don't
just
mind
like,
me."
yeah.
Side quest, you know, like let me just real quick put him in the fire.
She was just grieving. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. That's what you do when you grieve, you know.
Yeah, kidnap
That's what
another
happens.
child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kidnap, throw him in the flames.
That's exactly what you do.
Exactly.
So anyway, she demanded them to build a temple. And then I think she was kind of just hanging out in that temple after it was built. And she creates what we now call winter. And it lasted like that for a while. And then Zeus was like, hey, all the mortals are dying now. And we're not getting any like treats or offerings or anything. Which seemed like the main issue for them. They didn't really care about the mortals dying. Just no offerings were being given.
You know, at least they were real about it. Like they didn't.
I mean, that's all mortals were to them, right? Just like sacrificial sheep. Just
Pretty
give us
much.
stuff. Like,
Pretty
hey,
much.
we need you to worship us so we can have more power. Like,
Yeah, they were pretty much just mostly centered on the offerings.
I mean, think about it. It's like the negative 1500s. Women, you know,
negative 1500s.
or whatever it is. AD, BC, no, BCE, before Common Era or something. I don't know. When were the Greeks alive?
It was like 400 BC was when the Hellenist era happened, I think.
Exactly. Like,
Somewhere around that time.
you know, you think about it. If, how do I say this? You think about it.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just gotta think about it some more.
I just have to think about it. Let me think about it. Okay, it's negative 400. It's negative. It's negative 400 BC.
Time doesn't go in the negative.
Okay. No one.
Negative BCE is Common Era. You're
Okay.
smart.
Okay. Let me talk in the negatives. I don't understand why time doesn't go in the negatives. If
Not
we
how
do,
time works.
okay, we may as well say it's negative because
It's
why
the
should
past, not negative.
yes, but before zero should be negative. Makes sense mathematically.
You can't quantify time that way.
And we should be able to. I'm gonna petition the government to quantify time that way. It
This
makes
is irrelevant.
it makes so much more sense. It's not
Objection.
irrelevant.
Irrelevancy.
Oh my god. Point of order. I'm on topic. Anyway, you can
All
continue.
right. Where was I? So she makes winter. Zeus asks for her to come back to Olympus. She says no. So Zeus asks for Persephone to come back to Olympus. And Hades seems perfectly fine with it. And before she can come back to Olympus, Hades ends up, quote, secretly gave her sweet pomegranate seed to eat. So secretly he did that. And then he allowed her to go back to Olympus. And then after going up to Olympus, she went to the temple that Demeter was staying in, and she recounts the entire story a second time, and basically says that Hades took her away unwilling, and that she didn't want to do any of that. And then after that, since she ate the pomegranate seed, she was forced to spend a third of the year with Hades, which it's weird that it's actually a third and not half of the year, like other interpretations say.
It does make sense because, like, harsh winter is really only like a third of the year.
Aren't they gods
Yes.
though? Aren't they gods? Like, do they get sick? Does time matter in negative 400 BC?
It does. It's not them they're worried about. They're worried about the mortals not giving them offerings.
I thought they hated mortals.
They do, but they want the offerings.
They do want that
It's
temple.
any parent-child relationship.
I mean, that's understandable, you know. We talk about Demeter and we criticize her, but she's just a hater, and sometimes that's understandable. I would hate humanity too, but not right now because it's not negative 400 BC and people are a lot better. Sometimes,
I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of that story. So, what are your thoughts on it? Initial thoughts on Hades and Persephone?
Initial thoughts, really weird, a little uncomfortable, really uncomfortable.
Boils down to Zeus not communicating anything.
Where is Zeus in the story? Where is he?
He just makes decisions, disappears, and is like, oh, let them deal with the consequences.
Yeah,
Bro.
he's just like, hey, there's my daughter. Have fun.
I know. Doesn't tell Demeter, doesn't tell his daughter. He's just like, hey, go ahead, have my daughter. And then he's like, oh, you're mine now. I was like, what? When did this come out?
So that actually brings us into the next segment, which is history and cultural background. So Zeus giving Hades permission to marry Persephone was actually a very common thing in ancient Greece, like the dad making a decision without the daughter or the mother knowing.
Understandable, but like,
What do you mean
literally
understandable?
No, I mean like.
What do you mean understandable?
No, I'm saying that like it happened. Like, what else is there to say? Like that happened back then. That's just a fact. It's more like, yeah, they make these decisions without the wife and daughter. That's bad nowadays. I mean, it's bad in general, but like it's really viewed against nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's like, at least when she is going with the husband, tell them. It's not like, oh, I'm being kidnapped by this random guy. It's like, no, I sold you. It's like,
No, I sold you. Duh.
duh. It's like,
You're so dumb. See, women are so dumb. I literally sold you. You would know that if you were a man.
it's like,
You would know you were being kidnapped if you were a man. I'm just saying.
it's like, why just be like, did anyone like be like, oh yeah, your dad gave you to me, like.
No.
Because obviously women don't need to be communicated to. Duh.
Yeah, the only thing is to make sandwiches in the kitchen.
Exactly. Did the Greeks have sandwiches?
They probably did. Or they
No way.
They probably had at least the ingredients to make a sandwich.
Oh, okay. They had the ingredients. I doubt they made sandwiches though.
They had bread at least.
They had bread.
Every country had bread.
That's very good. I'm glad they had bread.
Good for them.
Good for them, you know?
Bread is really good.
Yeah. What's that one saying? Never mind. There is no saying.
Anyway, bride kidnapping. That was a common practice in a lot of the ancient world, including Greece.
Interesting. I mean, you think about it, the Europeans. Let's talk about the Europeans. In a way, they did that too. No, because you would just give your daughter over in exchange for like a cow, and then that was considered marriage, and your daughter had no say in it. Like
Yeah, but that's more like giving their hand in marriage. This is like actual like kidnapping from your home.
Yeah,
That's
because
true.
with the
There's
Europeans, it was an exchange. It was the cow for the dowry.
yeah, with the Greeks, it was you get no cow. I'm taking your daughter
With permission.
with permission.
All right. What else? Persephone would have been in a state of Parthenos, which was the point in time where women were considered most attractive to both gods and mortals. And guess what age that was?
19. Let's go.
Lower.
No,
16?
stop.
What did you say?
16,
Lower.
14.
Yep.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
But to give Hades a bit of credit,
there is
which-
no credit.
gods,
Somebody call CPS.
gods age so weirdly because there's the myth of Apollo and Artemis. Artemis is... Her mother gives birth to Artemis, and then she goes on to help give birth to Apollo, which is her twin. And then there's also Hermes, who right out of the womb captured some cattle that Apollo owned.
Oh man.
So, still weird, but there's a little bit of justification.
Some.
And then there was also a wedding ritual in ancient Greece that women would eat food from their husband's home that would symbolize inclusion into the household. So in Hades' case, it would be the pomegranate seed. And so the entire hymn to Demeter is basically about like a mom's grief of losing her daughter to marriage, because that's basically all that happened. Like, I think there was a quote from some guy, it might have been Homer, but I'm not sure, where basically it was like women's only purpose was to have kids and get married, and like if we didn't need to like procreate, then women would not exist.
Wow. Thanks.
Thanks. Potentially Homer, probably
Wow.
not.
Thanks, Homer. That's great.
I like how this is discussed, like men aren't the ones who are like, we need to bear a legacy. We need
Exactly.
we need to survive. Like, I feel like women would be fine with going extinct.
I wouldn't mind it yet.
Yeah.
You know, going extinct sounds pretty good.
Yeah. You know, it's going to happen eventually. I mean, climate change.
So one of the things that Hades said, like, right before he gave that pomegranate seed to Persephone was, while you are here, you shall rule all that lives and moves, and shall have the greatest rights among the deathless gods, those who defraud you, and do not appease your power with offerings, reverently performing rites and paying fit gifts, shall be punished forevermore. And that's what he said. And he does end up seeming to fulfill that promise. Like, Persephone is often depicted with Hades and is shown to have a lot of influence over him. And, like, in many versions of, like, the Orpheus and Eurydice myth, Persephone is the one to convince Hades to let Eurydice go. And I think in some either statues or plays or something, Hades is actually shown to be behind Persephone when, like, giving offerings and stuff.
Hades is just a lonely guy looking for company. And he was like, brother, help me. And then
He's real for that. That's
honestly,
understandable.
like, if I were kidnapped by someone who just wanted, like, to hang out, I'd be like, okay.
I'd be chill with it.
Yeah, like, if I could, like, contact my mom every once in a while, I'm fine.
Guys. All right, I think that's a little too personal. I think that's a little too
Says the person who spent like 2 minutes to say, let me think about it.
Let me think about
Let me think about it.
I think that's a
Negative
little
400 BC.
Negative 400 BC.
But I mean, like, it's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
you know, there's a loneliness epidemic right now. You know, maybe he was lonely too. No,
I
I'm
mean,
serious. There's
like, isolated from the rest of the gods, you know, just having to deal with freaking dead souls.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think in myth he usually, or no, he doesn't like accept that he rules over the underworld, but like Poseidon and Zeus had already taken like the ocean and the sky, and he was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, he's the person who didn't want to be the leader in a group project, but was forced there anyway.
He's so real for that.
He's so real for that. So like, aside from the kidnapping and like taking her against her will, he's not that bad of a husband.
I mean, in the context of Greece, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the context of now, jail. Call OSHA, you know?
Call
But-
OSHA.
Yeah.
Yes, call the building regulators.
Somebody come get this man. But how would I say this? If I was to be kidnapped in negative 400 BC and it was Hades, I think it would be pretty lucky considering how the rest of the gods were.
Yeah, and like the thing with Hades and Persephone is that a lot of like young girls ended up playing pretend of like Persephone's abduction. So they would do that in, there's evidence of it in the South Italian Greek city of Locri, and they would compare themselves to her when they were in that state of Parthenos. And it seems like they would find comfort in that myth of like, I don't know, of being kidnapped, but it not being that bad.
Yeah, I mean pickings were slim. Stuff was horrible back then. If your dream is to be kidnapped, ouch, you know? I'm so glad that, you know, times are better now. Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you looking at me that way? What do you have to say, huh?
Why do you keep side-eyeing me?
I don't know. Why do you keep side-eyeing me?
I'm staring at
I'm
you.
literally okay. Do you not want to be kidnapped in ancient Greece? Actually,
Would you like to be kidnapped?
say yes. I mean, what other option do you
no
have?
choice.
Either it's kidnap. What else is other than kidnap? If they didn't get kidnapped into marriage, what else would they walk into?
The only thing I've seen is kidnapped, but they might have also been like sold or like dowries and stuff.
Yeah, kidnapped, sold, or I don't know. You go into like Greek
Also concubines, probably.
concubines. Yeah, 3 options. Pick one.
I mean, all of them are pretty awful. It just depends on the intentions of the guy doing it, I guess. It's like, if you want me to be a baby maker, ew, but like, if you just want to hang out, you just want to like cuddles and head pats. I love cuddles and head pats.
You know, there is no.
It's what
good
you make out of the
choices.
situation.
It's all subjective.
That's exactly what I think a lot of scholars and stuff like see in the Persephone and Hades myth is like making the best out of a worse situation. So to end off the episode, I'm going to talk about a short story about Persephone and Hades with the creation of the mint plant. So Persephone and Hades actually, in myth, they don't cheat on each other pretty much ever. Like the only times that Persephone kind of quote-unquote cheats is when Zeus disguises himself as Hades, and you know.
This is like a twin taking advantage of... this is gross.
Plus, he's her dad.
Yeah.
Call OSHA.
I mean,
Call OSHA.
Call OSHA.
But, you know,
Zeus is...
incest is a thing in
Zeus
Greek
is Zeus.
mythology.
Well, I mean, pickings are slim. I'm telling you. Think of the Europeans. Okay, I read Pride and Prejudice the other day, and they are just marrying their cousin and cousin after cousin
Yeah.
because they want to keep it in the family, right?
They want
And
to
so-
keep the bloodline pure.
Yeah, they want to keep the bloodline pure, quotation marks. But when you think of the Greek gods, I mean, especially with them, if they want to keep the power in the family, then they have to do it. And it was also more of an example for the Greek people, you know, because in Europe, there was a lot of incest because people didn't know the effects of incest also.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, even in, say, the 1800s, when Europeans would marry their cousins, they would come out as their children would be incestuous, and they would have like these disorders. There's one bloodline, a royal bloodline of Spain, where their chin just keeps jutting out.
Yeah, it was... I don't remember their name.
Yeah, I don't remember their name
Hambert
either.
or something.
Yeah, but you know, no one knew about that until they started seeing the patterns, and so that's why incest was so normalized.
Yeah, and then another thing about mythology in general is that it's like written by people to like justify the actions of other people.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like the Greek gods were a reflection of the Greek people.
Yeah.
You know, not only what they were, but what they wanted to be.
Yep.
And so, you know, keeping the power in the family, keeping the bloodline pure.
Yeah, like there are probably people back in ancient times who thought that incest was weird. But
Yeah, definitely.
all the people like writing stuff and like the rulers and stuff were probably just fine with it.
Like I'm sure, you know, at some point someone was recognizing the pattern between, you know, how children of incest would come out. But up until then, you know, there was no one to, you know, the bloodline didn't stretch far enough because civilization had just started. I mean,
Yeah.
you only have a couple generations of the Greek people who live in this community with laws and stuff. So
Yeah. So where were we? We were on Mint. So they didn't cheat on each other very often, Persephone with Zeus. And then she also had like a fling or something with Adonis. That's a whole other story.
oh, the drama.
What was the thing with Adonis was like, I think Aphrodite, Persephone, and it might have been one other god where like they all fell in love with Adonis because he was like perfect and stuff. And there was a whole fight about that. I don't think I've ever actually read that story, but they don't cheat on each other very often. Hades is seen generally as like an infertile god because he's the god of the underworld, so kind of makes sense. And he's had 2 concubines. Was it concubines? Let's see. Yeah, 2 concubines. So there was Mint and there was Leus. And Mint was basically one of his concubines, and she claimed to be superior to Persephone. And the myths vary between Demeter and Persephone, but one of the two end up killing her out of anger and turns her into the first mint plant.
The mint plant? You're talking about mints? Like the things that make your breath smell good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
And mint was actually used to like mask the smell of the dead during funerary rites.
Wow.
And it became one of Hades' sacred plants.
That's interesting. For a god of the underworld, your iconic plant is like mint, you know?
Yeah. His iconic plants are like the mint plant and the white poplar tree, I think.
Wait, so all the Greek gods have a plant
Yeah.
like assigned to
They
them?
have sacred plants, sacred animals, sacred symbols. They have a whole bunch of stuff. Sacred days.
Sacred days?
I think I looked it up once, and Hades' sacred day was Saturday. For some reason.
What? Oh my god, Saturday's Hades Day.
Saturday is Hades Day.
I'm gonna go print a
Let's go.
picture of Hades from Laura Olympus. Hang it up on my wall. I'm joking, you guys. Please.
Not Laura Olympus.
Don't look at me that way. Don't look at me that way.
All right. Well, that was all of my notes. Any closing thoughts?
I think
So much of mythology is just Zeus running amok. He
Yeah.
can't keep it in his pants. He can't
Yeah.
keep it. He can't communicate anything. I'm sorry for slamming the table.
anyway, I also want to mention that I think it's really strange for Zeus to be the sort of god that he is, where you have, say, Christianity or Islam. You have a god that's, perfect and their morals are something to make an example of, right? But Zeus is just Zeus.
Zeus
He
is
does
like your common king.
Exactly. He does all of these horrible things. But what I wonder is, why would the Greeks make such a horrible story out of their gods if they're worshiping those gods?
I'm pretty sure the case with Zeus was that I heard a couple of Hellenists talk about this. I haven't fact checked it, but I'm pretty sure the thing with Zeus was that since he's able to see into the future as a god, he knows what heroes are needed for the time. So he ends up making those heroes by having sex with a bunch of women. And that's the main reason that Hera isn't mad at him and is actually fine with their relationship.
Let me save the world by having sex.
Let me save the world by having a lot of children.
I mean, do what you gotta do.
What is he, Nick Cannon?
But yeah, it's really interesting. I think, do you know who came up with the Greek gods? Was it the ruling class? Was it the working class?
It's like with every religion where it just kind of becomes a thing out of a whole bunch of people believing.
Because Greek mythology is a lot of that, just myths and stories. But was it used to say, keep the masses in check the way Christianity was?
Well, with a lot of ancient religions, it originally started as a way to explain how the world works.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, it kind of just evolved.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've heard from, a couple people, don't quote me on this, that a big reason of, why myths were so fantastical, well, not a big reason, but one of the reasons was that glasses didn't exist back then. So blind people would just walk around and they would see this crazy stuff and they'd be like, wow, it's real. I'm going to go tell everyone and it's going to become a myth.
Yeah, how much of history is just people not being able to see properly?
Yeah, how much of history is people needing bifocals, honestly? Anyway, moving on. I like Greek mythology in that it's sort of a combination of the fantastical, but also people. You know, you look at certain religions and it's just, you know, fantastical creatures, you know, sort of animals that have this absolute power, or you have these people who are absolute and the highest moral authority. But Greek mythology is sort of a combination of both, in that you have like just these people who do whatever they want, and you're supposed to worship them because they're all powerful.
Or a giant dysfunctional royal family.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The Spanish. Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up the episode. To give credit to my sources, most of the mythology information I got from Theoi, theoi.com. That's a good source for like reading up on ancient myths. And then a lot of the historical information I got from a research paper by Cameron Alwang. So thank you to both of those sources.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Thank you.
for the next episode, I'm not sure if you two are going to be on it or if I'm going to find someone else off the street. But
Off the street.
off the street, aka the digital media studio.
That you were gonna do DoorDash and just show up to someone's house, say, "Hey, do you want to be this part of this podcast?" We're gonna talk about Zeus and all his wives.
But anyway, the next episode is going to be about Filipino mythology.
Oh!
Because I'm Filipino and I want to talk about it.
Please invite me.
All right.
Please invite
All right,
me.
you'll be on the next episode. Trena,
I'm along for the ride.
nice. All right, well, see you next week. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.